could possibly knock out Chris Billam-Smith. That's a high possibility because Chris Billam-Smith, like I said, isn't the quickest guy to dodge a punch. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are predicting this weekend's main event for England for Zuffa Boxing 7. Chris Billam-Smith versus Ryan Rozicki. Now listen, honestly, I feel like this is a very interesting fight, especially for the 7th fight and their first fight in England. But before we get any further into the video, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on notifications when you guys want to see when I upload. And share my videos with your friends and family. And now, without any further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so the style of Chris Billam-Smith and the strengths and weaknesses. The biggest strengths I've seen from Chris Billam-Smith is that he's a very consistent pressure fighter and is very good fighting on the inside. We've also seen it, and he also has a very good gas tank and is very durable. Those three things right there in general. Consistent pressure, fights on the inside, good gas tank, very good pressure. I think that's a good style. I think that's pretty good. And he also has mental toughness and is very good when it comes to body punching. He has some very effective body work that, can help him win this fight against Ryan Rozicki. But the two main weaknesses I've seen from Chris Billam-Smith is that he can be hit very clean sometimes just because he doesn't, and he's also not the quickest athlete. Those two things together could be a very big problem because Rozicki only has one win by decision. If I'm not mistaken, that was him moving up to heavyweight. So other than that, at 200 pounds, he's just been knocking people out consistently. But some comparisons from what I've seen from Chris Billam-Smith, these are two comparisons that I've seen. Is that first, he fights a little bit like Maurice Briedis, who most recent loss is to Jai Bataya, and what the comparison is the physical strength and pressure. That kind of is a little similar to Maurice Briedis. Now, also, he kind of reminds me, a little bit of his style kind of reminds me of Leigh Wood, who's a former champion at featherweight, because of the grit and willingness to fight through adversity. Those are the comparisons I've had for Chris Billam-Smith. Now, Chris Billam-Smith, like I said, he's not He's not the quickest athlete. And that's a problem I have because Rozicki hits very hard from what I've seen from him. But now, the style of Rozicki, he's has heavy punching power with relentless pressure, excellent body work, high aggression, and strong mentality as well. Those things together, he is probably one of the most dangerous fighters at Cruiserweight today. And honestly, he could possibly knock out anybody in this division just by one punch. That's how hard he hits. He's kind of, hits just as hard as kind of like Deontay Wilder, except in my opinion, he's a kind of a better fighter in a way because, has the better punches and is not just waiting for that right moment. Well, he's waiting for it, but he's setting up that right moment instead of, just getting beat an entire fight and then just knocking somebody out. But the weaknesses I've seen from Rozicki is that his defense is his biggest aversion mark, where it's not the best. And he has such limited footwork. Like, his footwork's decent, but it's not as good as some of those like Jai Bataya. But also, some comparisons I've kind of seen is one is against young Jack Dempsey. Jack Dempsey is an old school fighter from I don't know exactly when. I know who he is though, I just can't remember exactly the year. He kind of reminds me of that. And he also kind of reminds me of Arthur Beterbiev. But, less technical, but similar pressure mentality. And he also reminds me of Brandon Figueroa. Just a cruiserweight size. But now, on to the fight. Listen, this, like I said, one punch could change the entire fight. Ryan Rozicki could possibly knock out Billam-Smith. That's a high possibility because Billam-Smith, like I said, isn't the quickest guy to dodge a punch. He can get hit very clean throughout fights, and I think, you know, that could be a problem because, you know, we've seen him, you know, get pressured and get clipped by Zurdo Ramirez. And Zurdo Ramirez, honestly, Zurdo is a good fighter, but like Ryan Rozicki, obviously, I feel like Zurdo Ramirez may be the better fighter, but like Ryan Rozicki hits much harder than Zurdo Ramirez. But even if you kind of look at Billam-Smith's last fight against Brandon Glanton, there were a few times in those rounds where I did kind of see Brandon Glanton kind of clip him a little bit throughout the rounds. It wasn't so much, but there was like a few rounds where, you know, Brandon Glanton stole, and Brandon Glanton is a good fighter and can take a punch as well. Obviously, you know, we've seen Brandon Glanton lose to Jaya Butaya at Zuffa Boxing 4, but Jaya Butaya is possibly the best cruiserweight today, and maybe just go down as one of the greatest cruiserweights of all time. But back to the prediction. Billam-Smith does have a good jab, does have a good fight IQ, but so does Ryan Rozicki. Ryan Rozicki may have such limited footwork, and his defense may be his biggest problem, but he's setting up that knockout. He's going to find a way to knock you out. That's how he has a lot of these knockouts. Because you see a lot of people who have a lot of knockouts, you know, they're just fighters who just, you know, just consistently throw to try and knock you out. He's a very smart fighter, and he can catch Billam-Smith off guard. Sets up that jab, sets up that straight, lands him with that hook. One power punch, I feel like one very, very clean punch, especially in the right spot, Ryan Rozicki can win the biggest fight of his life. But now, how do I see this fight playing out? Listen, I can see this being a very close fight, and honestly, stylistically, I think this is it could be a very bad matchup for Billam-Smith. Because Billam-Smith, you know, we've seen it have a weakness of pressured fighters throughout rounds. We've seen it throughout his career a lot. And he's not the quickest fighter, so if Ryan Rozicki throws a clean punch, tries to throw a clean punch, will Billam-Smith manage to dodge it as fast? I don't necessarily think so. And I think it could be a bad matchup. But now, who do I got winning this fight? I am going with the underdog Ryan Rozicki. Listen, you guys can say that Billam-Smith is going to win, but I don't think Billam-Smith is going to handle the punches that Ryan Rozicki is going to bring in the fight. But now, that will be the end of the video, y'all. If you guys enjoy the type of my content, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, turn on notifications when you guys want to see when I upload. Share my videos with your friends, family. Thank y'all for 103 subscribers. I appreciate all of y'all. I'll see you on the next one. I am out. Peace.